What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue here with our 2023 predictions. The Iowa Hawkeyes are up next. Let's take a look at some of the other predictions for this team. The FPI has them at 7.4 and 4.8. Athlon has them at 8 and 4. The over/under is at 7.5. So it seems like the consensus is that they'll go 7 and 5 or 8 and 4. That seems to be the prediction here for Iowa. I'm not real high on this team. I think that, a lot of their issues on offense last year are still going to be there this year. Cade McNamara comes in, and he's not the kind of quarterback that's just going to make a team way better. I mean, he's not going to make the offense. I think he's an upgrade, and I think they will be improved, but I don't think there's going to be a dramatic improvement on that side of the ball. And you look at the defense, they're going to be solid like they always are. They lose some key players, but they have guys ready to go. And this is something I noticed with Kansas State and also with Iowa more than maybe any other teams when I was working on rosters. They have a lot of redshirt freshmen that are maybe expected to contribute that you've never heard of. They weren't high recruits, but they've been there for 2 years. They've had time to develop, and that's something that programs like Iowa and Kansas State do. They develop players. They improve these players. And so you look at the names, you look at the recruiting rankings, and you think, well, Iowa's not going to be very good. But they're always better than you think because of these players that they've developed that you just don't know about. And I think that's going to be the case with this team. I think that's why their defense will be good again. And I think that, again, the offense will improve enough to give them, to at least give them some type of offense. I mean, they were awful last year. I think they'll be much more of an average type offense this year. Not great, not even good, but maybe average. So here's the schedule, and what I really like if I'm an Iowa fan is this schedule. It's a very favorable schedule. Not quite as good as Wisconsin's in the Big Ten, but you look at road games in the Big Ten: Penn State, Wisconsin, and Nebraska. That's it. Only 3 road games. You've got Northwestern in a neutral site game, and yes, I realize it's going to be much closer to Northwestern, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of Iowa fans there. You've got Iowa State on the road, rivalry game. Iowa State won that game last year, so that's that'll be a tough one. But overall, this schedule does set up really well for them. You look at Purdue, Michigan State, Minnesota, Rutgers, Illinois, all these teams at home. They'll start things off with Utah State, a program that used to be pretty good not long ago, but I don't really know what happened to them. So Iowa should take care of business here, win easily, and get off to a 1-0 start. Then they'll play Iowa State. This is going to be a good matchup here. Talk about developing players. Iowa State does that as well. I don't think they're quite as successful as Iowa. And you're playing this game on the road, rivalry game. It's a tough one. I've kind of gone back and forth on this game. I do think Iowa's going to be a little bit better, and I think the veteran quarterback, Cade McNamara, he's not going to go out and throw for 300 yards, but his ability to not turn the ball over, manage the game, make the right plays, lean on that run game, it'll be enough against, I think, a pretty even talent-wise matchup here for these, for Iowa. But I think that they're able to go on the road, get some revenge from last year, and beat Iowa State. I'm actually going to go with the Hawkeyes, but that's a tough one. That is a very tough pick to make there. Western Michigan next on September 16th. Home game, playing against a MAC team. It's a tough spot because you're right in between a road game with Iowa State and a road game at Penn State. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they struggled in this game. It was a low-scoring game. They win it like 16-3 or 16-6, something like that. But I do think they'll win. So I've got them starting off 3-0. Then they go on the road to face Penn State. Very, very tough place to play against a very, very good team. I don't think this game will be close. Iowa's defense will keep it from being a blowout, but I don't think it's a game where when you're watching, you ever really think that Iowa has a chance to win. You're going to know from start to finish, Penn State's a better team, and I think they will win fairly easily. Again, not a 30-point win just because Iowa's defense will keep Penn State from scoring a ton of points, but I do think Penn State wins that game easily. So Iowa drops to 3-1. Next up, they'll play Michigan State on September the 30th. At home, this is a Michigan State team that I've talked about. I was pretty high on them, and they lost Peyton Thorne and Keon Coleman, and now I'm not as high on the Spartans. You got to have a quarterback, obviously, and Iowa, Iowa fans know about that. They know all about that. But playing at home, it's hard to pick against Iowa in this game. A fairly even matchup. I think Iowa is the better team. Plus, again, playing at home, I've got to go with the Hawkeyes to get the win here and improve to 4-1. Next up, they'll play Purdue on October the 7th. I think Purdue is going to drop off a lot from last year. I talked about this on maybe the Wisconsin video. Purdue is not a place that really recruited at a high level. Jeff Brom was able to get a lot out of a little there at Purdue, and so the talent's just not there. And now you've got a new coaching staff. I think this team's going to be pretty bad. And playing at Iowa, I think the Hawkeyes win big. So I think they get an easy win over Purdue, improve to 5-1. Then you've got a road game against Wisconsin. This will be a fun one. Probably a low-scoring game, like it usually is. I just think that the changes on offense for Wisconsin are going to be enough for the Badgers to get this win. I think Wisconsin will win at home. Low-scoring game again, but they've got more offense than Iowa, and they're going to use that offense to outscore them by a little bit. And, it's maybe a 23-16 game, something like that, but I do think Wisconsin will win it. Then you've got Minnesota on October the 21st, home game for Iowa. Again, really like the schedule with some of these games at home. Minnesota's going to be good. They're always a solid team, and they're capable of winning this game. It probably will be a low-scoring, run-the-football type game. Both teams really want to do that. It comes down to home field advantage. I just have a hard time seeing Iowa losing this game at home. So I think they beat Minnesota, get to 6-2. Then they play Northwestern in Chicago. Northwestern's a tough one to figure out. I thought they were going to be much better last year. I don't really see them. They haven't made a lot of changes from last year. I think they will be improved some, but enough to win this game, probably not. But they've surprised us in the past, so it wouldn't surprise me at all if Northwestern turned out to be a team that goes to a bowl game this year. That team that could win this game, but I have no reason to really think that that's going to happen. So I think Iowa will be the better team, and they'll win this one, get to 7-2. Then they play Rutgers on November the 11th at home. Not that high on Rutgers. I know some people think that this program is kind of headed in the right direction. I just look at the roster, and I don't really see it this year. I think this will be a low-scoring defensive battle, but Iowa, the better team, plus playing at home, got to go with the Hawkeyes. So they get to 8-2, the win there. Then they'll play Illinois at home. This will be a good matchup here. This is a tough one for me. I was really back and forth on this one. It really did, at the end of the day, come down to home field advantage, though. I'm going to go with Iowa. Both teams are going to want to run the ball. Both teams are going to have good defenses. I think Iowa will have a better defense than Illinois, and maybe that's the difference, plus a veteran quarterback. I think Iowa does win, but it'll be close. And then they've got Nebraska to close things out on the road. Friday, of course, Nebraska beat them last year. I don't really want to make this pick, but I just think Iowa's going to be 9-3, and this is a good spot for that loss to come. So I'm going to say they lose. I really kind of feel like it may not go this way. Maybe they lose to Minnesota or Illinois and beat Nebraska. I just don't know if Nebraska is going to be able to do it 2 years in a row. But when you look at the athletes on the field, Nebraska, they've got more talent than Iowa. Plus, they're playing at home. So I think Nebraska has a real good shot here. It'll really probably depend on how good Jeff Sims is. And we've heard some good things from the spring about him. So if he goes out there and plays really well at home, I think Nebraska does win this game. But I feel like my picks are too obvious here, losing the 3 road games. But it is what it is. I think 9-3 will be the record. So I'm higher on Iowa than some of these other predictions, but I'm not really that high on this team, if that makes sense. I just think the way the schedule lines up, it really works out well for them, and I think they can get to 9-3. So that's my prediction for Iowa. What's your prediction? Give me your thoughts down in the comments below.